Hello and welcome into the Canadian Mousetrips podcast, episode 2, or duh, as they say in French. I am your host, Zach, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Carm. Carm, how's it going?
It's going. It's February in Canada, so it's a lot of fun, and we're all ready and excited for the Disney travel.
Totally. Is there a better time of year to talk about going to Disney World if you're in Canada than February?
February is the best time.
Yeah.
It's the best time.
Well,
breaks up the winter,
Totally. Yeah. Well, thank you everyone for whoever tuned into our first episode. A really good turnout for that. We're really excited about that. If you are watching us for the first time, my name is Zach. This is Carm. We are travel agents that specialize in Disney travel with a great organization called Canadian Mouse Trips. You can check out our website right up top there. And we're going to be chatting about some Disney today. We're going to be talking about budgeting and managing your time with your Disney trip. We're going to talk about Carm's upcoming trip to Disney World and hear her kind of talk about her planning and what she's doing for it. And then, but before we get to any of that, Carm, are you up for a little bit of a game?
I am always up for a game.
Okay.
Always.
This game is called What the Rope Drop. And we're going to say, we'll go Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Animal Kingdom, and Hollywood Studios. What ride would you rope drop? And if you're wondering, if you're watching this, like, what is rope dropping? Rope dropping is when you plan on being right at park open for any, theme park. And at Disney, they do a ceremony where they drop the rope and the people can go into the park. And so if you're rope dropping, it means you're getting up really early and you're going to go in there. And if there's a really popular ride that you're like, yeah, that's my rope drop must. So let's start with let's start with Animal Kingdom. What ride would you rope drop at Animal Kingdom? I know this is kind of a controversial one for some people.
I'm always a rope drop Flight of Passage because the other ones I tend to like Lightning Lane because I'm a bougie person. I like the bougie. So I Lightning Lane. But my rope drop is Flight of Passage because it's usually the lowest in the morning or lowest at night. So that's kind of like my strategy, which is everybody's strategy, I think. You just got to know which way to go.
Yeah. Okay. Here, I'm gonna politely challenge that. I've done that rope drop strategy. It's a good one. Another strategy for Animal Kingdom that I've done before is rope dropping Expedition Everest. And if you do it, and here's my reason for doing it. I got to ride Expedition Everest like 3 times in the first hour.
Yeah.
And so if you go and you're like, if you love roller coasters, it can be a good strategy to kind of, okay, the crowd's going over this way. I'm going to go this way. But at the same time, you can't go wrong doing Flight of Passage.
No. And the beauty of the one good thing about Expedition Everest is if you're okay riding alone.
Yeah.
Their single rider line is top tier because you rarely have to wait if you're a single rider, unless it's like really crazy, which we talk strategy later. But yeah, usually if I really don't feel like riding Flight of Passage, which is never, which is never, and or if because sometimes even trying to rope drop Flight of Passage, the lineup can be like 75 minutes, which is a long time.
Yeah.
So sometimes if I want to do more things, then I won't rope drop it. And I will purchase that fancy single pass, my Lightning Lane. But it's usually pretty straight. Like the beauty of Animal Kingdom is it is more of a chill park. You can kind of do a little bit more with the time that you have if you're there for the day. You're not rushing around because there's just less line ride time than the other parks, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. No. Okay, well, so that's Animal Kingdom. Let's do What the Rope Drop for Epcot.
Oh,
that's a tough one.
I usually rope depending on where I'm staying. If I'm staying on a Skyliner resort area, then I'm rope dropping Remy, right? Because it's right there. Okay. But if not, I will probably rope drop Frozen because why not? Sometimes even Soarin', because you can do it a couple times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about, like, kinda balancing that, like, do you want as do you have a ride like Soarin' that you wanna ride as many times as possible, or do you wanna do, like, a variety of rides? I do think, though, that either Remy or Frozen are the play there, for sure.
Yes,
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
100%. Yeah.
Okay, let's do this is a tough one. Hollywood Studios, what the rope drop. There's so many strategies for Hollywood
There's
Studios.
so many. I mean, if you're there early enough, slinky,
Yeah,
right? Like, you gotta get there really early, and I think you're gonna talk about the strategy on rope drop. People think that you can just show up right at time,
yeah,
and there's, just but so I think if you're there early enough, slinky, if you don't wanna purchase lightning lanes. Otherwise, Rise, because I love Rise so much that I wanna go on it more than once.
yeah,
So I like it's usually that one, because Slinky is great, but it's still a roller coaster.
yeah,
Rise is an experience.
yeah.
Rise of the Resistance, you know?
No, you can't go wrong with either of those. I'll toss in a third one of going straight for, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Rail Ra Ra blah, blah,
That's
Railroad.
another good one,
Yeah,
yeah.
messed up my tongue there.
"Nothing can stop us now, I don't
Yeah.
know how,
Well, number
how."
one, just because it's such a good ride to start off your theme park day because it's so happy.
It
Um,
it really is. But
and
that song will be in your head then for the rest of your trip.
which I'm okay with.
Me too.
Yeah.
And I
Uh,
hope my singing has now made it in your head for the rest of the day.
exactly, yeah. But yeah, no, there's lots of different and the nice thing about Hollywood Studios is just because of the way it's kinda laid out, there are,
There's just
like, 3 kind of definitive paths you can take to start your day to it, so I like
and really, the one thing about Hollywood Studios is because there's 3 avenues, the rope drop crowds space out a
Yeah,
little bit, not getting everybody to the ones to one ride. Whereas, like, at Animal Kingdom, really, most people are rope dropping Flight of Passage, so everybody's kind of going in that direction,
yeah.
right?
Okay, another tough one, what the rope drop, Carm, Magic Kingdom.
Ugh,
What are you doing here?
I don't I it just depended on the trip. Usually, it's dependent on the trip. This time, I think we're going to be rope dropping Peter Pan,
Okay,
because last year, so a little bit of backstory, we go once a year for the Disney Princess Half Marathon weekend, and last year we just didn't hit Peter Pan. So that is first priority when we arrive,
yeah,
at Magic Kingdom.
get that done.
Sometimes, though, that one is down at during rope drop, and in that case, then we hit Winnie the Pooh, anything kind of in that area, so you can get multiple rides done in the first 30 minutes, which is nice.
Yeah, yeah, like, the reality is rope dropping any ride in Fantasyland, there's a lot
Yep.
of benefits to it, like, of what you can do because there is so many rides in, like, a small area of, like,
Yeah.
walking distance, so there's that practicality to it. I'm a big fan of picking your kind of your corner to go to,
Yes.
of, like,
Yes.
if you're gonna go rope drop Big Thunder or a Tiana's Bayou Adventure, or maybe you go to more of the Tomorrowland route and go Space Mountain, you know, I think just kind of having a plan ahead of time is the important part. With Magic
100%.
Kingdom, because there's so many rides to pick from, like I think if I were to go today, I would say I would rope drop Pirates, mainly because I really want to ride Pirates of the Caribbean. Uh, and you can have a good rope drop strategy based off of that. But if you've never been before and you're still like learning, your way around Magic Kingdom and stuff, I would probably go with more of a, Tomorrowland, Fantasyland kind of rope drop strategy to it, and then you'll work your way. But yeah,
And I think the key is that these are conversations we have with our clients,
yeah,
when we are talking about lightning lane purchases, rope dropping strategies if they want to do so. A lot of people just don't know these things and these strategies and stuff like that. And so they'll see it online and they'll ask us about it. And then that opens up the dialogue and the conversation of, like, how do you want to plan your trip? Right. So that's always something that I like to have that conversation with. Again, that's something that I do. But if you are working with a travel agent that specializes in Disney travel, ask those questions, what they think the best option is based on your situation and your circumstance. And I think that's really key. And that's what's so great about having us because we can bounce those ideas if you have questions about it.
Well, and even learning like how to use like the My Disney Experience app to kind of help
Mm,
guide your day, going from ride to ride. And
exactly.
and even like sometimes people forget to like fit in shows. Like I
Yeah.
still remember my first trip to Disney that I didn't know anything. I was gifted a ticket. I did 4 parks in one day on my first trip. It was terrible. We didn't do any shows except for fireworks at the end of the day. Right?
And sometimes this is what happens, right? It's because people think, "Oh, I'm going to Disney. I'm gonna get all the rides in." But Disney isn't just about the
There's
rides,
so much more
right?
experience. Yeah.
So much more. Like, our trip this time, I'm going with my mom, and she is not a rides person.
Okay.
However, she loves coming because there's so much to do
Yeah. Yeah.
and so much to see, and we can always talk about that in future podcasts, but,
Yeah. Well,
that's the beauty of it.
we are going to talk about you and your mom's trip coming up in a
Yes.
little bit here, but let's get into our main topic of the day. That was a lot of fun. Thanks for
So much
playing.
fun.
Thanks for playing What the Rope Drop with
I
Carmen.
love it.
Okay. And if you're watching or listening, let us know what are your rides that you rope drop in the comments below. We want to hear it. But Carm, let's talk about one of the things that a lot of people don't think about when they go to plan their Disney vacation is just time management. And
Oh,
when I'm talking with my clients, I'll talk about kind of your macro day-to-day time schedule that you can do a lot of pre-planning ahead of time for. But then there's also that managing, kind of going with the flow of like that micro day to day, if someone starts to say, hey, you know what, I'm really tired, I need a break, right? And you got to pivot your plan. Maybe someone's really hungry, or maybe you see like, there's a really short line at a really popular ride, and you're like, oh, we got to go there, right? And so we're gonna kind of talk about that. So let's start with talking about kind of that macro perspective for someone who is going to like say it was a family of four going to Disney World for the first time, and they come to you and they say, Carm, what should I plan? Like, do I need to go to all 4 parks? Like, what should I do? How would you navigate that conversation?
my first question for me is always, well, what do you want to do? Like, what do your kids love in relation to Disney? Do they love princesses? Do they love Mickey and Minnie? Do they love, do they like going on roller coasters? Do
Yeah.
they not like going on roller coasters? Do they like watching shows? Like, so we ask all of these little questions to kind of get an idea of like what they're looking for in a vacation. And a lot of the times, it's, do you like, if you have really little kids, do we want to be on the go the whole time? So we have to adjust based on a couple of those questions. Um, and so like I always say, especially with a family of four with little children, try not to park hop because it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot on adults,
Yeah.
on like a group of four adults to run around from park to park. Then you add little children to the mix and you're just taking that from one extreme to another. And so those are conversations we have. Some families love a park hop, especially if you've been to Disney before, things like that.
Mhm.
But, it's about managing expectations of what's actually feasible when you're going to a park and what you want to see.
Yeah.
And so if I know, okay, your kiddo loves princesses, then we're going to kind of steer towards the parks with more of the princessy things,
Yeah.
right? Or, if your kid is a Mickey and Minnie diehard, right? Loves Mickey's Clubhouse, okay, so then we kind of steer it towards that. Or, you know what? Your, 7-year-old is obsessed with Star Wars. Then we know where we're gonna go. So like, we just play around with how many days you want to even be doing this? Do
Yeah.
you need to take breaks because you've got little kids? And what do you want? It's truly what you want. And then we kind of fiddle with the time and how we manage that time.
Yeah, and I think you did a really good job, kind of outlining, the benefits of doing a kind of more straightforward non-park hopper plan versus a park plan with or
Yeah.
park hopper plan, and There absolutely is a place for a park hopping strategy. We'll do that in another future episode of this podcast. But I think for our purposes here, we're going to kind of focus on, okay, let's say you have a family or maybe a group of friends. You have your travel day. You have then your 5 days to be at Disney World, and then your travel home day. And I'm a big believer that if you can travel in as early as possible, right? When maybe you're flying, maybe you're driving, that there's different strategies to that. But right now Disney has the awesome perk of on your first day you get to go to a water park. And I had a client there a couple weeks ago, and they took advantage of that, and it was a fantastic start. They went. They were pretty tired from their traveling, but they went, and I think they got to spend at least like 4 hours in the water park, and that was a great way to start off their trip, right? On some slides, it was fun in the sun. They got away from the Canadian winter for a little bit, um, and then, but then what was really interesting about them is they went to they planned out their day. They did Animal Kingdom first, then they did Epcot, then they did Hollywood Studios, then they did Magic Kingdom, and then in between that, the two parks, they had a break day in there. And I think some people maybe don't value the break day that the way that they should, but for them, that break day was just such a benefit because theme parks, especially if you're doing it like open till close, takes a lot of energy, right? Like that's like over 25,000 steps for the average adult each day or whatever it is. But like,
Yeah.
how would you advise someone in planning out, which parks do they want to go to? Do they need a rest day? How would you navigate that conversation?
You know, every park, and this is what I love about Disney World, right? Like Disneyland has its own. I think that's also one thing is like we really need to specify. This is like a Disney World plan
Yeah,
and managing our planning at Disney World. We can get into time management at Disneyland
absolutely.
when we bring in maybe some of our agents that specialize more so in Disneyland.
Yeah,
And Zach and I are great with Disney World. We are East Coast livers, so we can definitely talk about land, but let's talk about Disney World specifically. There's four theme parks, and then you do have two water parks,
yeah,
which there is options for both. If you're big water park people, then we talk about that, right? But again, as Zach was saying, in 2025, if you are staying on Disney property, your check-in date, you do get one free day at the water parks. And so if you were doing this trip where you had 5 physical days in Orlando, okay, and you're staying on Disney property, we always advise you got to take a rest because you're right. When you go, 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 go. Even as adults, you need a day to just absorb. Plus, Disney has really great activities on property. There's Disney Springs, which is like a big shopping mall. If you don't know what that is, just Google it.
yeah,
You know, Disney Springs is also a place you can go get some really good food. You can do some shopping, things like that. There's bowling there, like so much to do. And that just gives you a moment to take a break
yeah,
in between the chaos. And sometimes, especially if you have little kids, these parks can be very overstimulating.
yeah,
And so we always say, if you've got the time to be down there, let's take a break in between.
yeah,
Let's take a break in our days. Like have a planned break from 1 to 2, where you go back to the resort, you take a nap because some kids still need naps. Even as an adult, I need a nap. I don't know about you.
I,
Um,
I
I
enjoy
usually nap.
taking a nap at Disney. Yeah,
I usually take a nap at the pool. Um, but really, at the end of the day, we need to manage not even just our time, but our expectation.
yeah,
You're not going to get everything done. It's just not going to happen. And so, if you get into that headspace of I need to get everything done, you're going to wear yourself out and you're not going to enjoy yourself as much, at least in my experience. There are people that can go, 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 and they just love it and they have all this time. But sometimes we're on such autopilot, right? I always say to my clients, this is something that I always say, I was like, make sure you go and you enjoy the
yeah,
experience.
yeah,
Take a moment, stand there and watch everybody because it's cool,
yeah,
right? Everybody here they've spent their hard-earned money to enjoy an experience and Disney just does it so well.
Yeah.
And there's just so much to do. And so I always say, like, I always set expectation. This is for me again. I always set expectation of like, take the break
Yeah.
because you'll enjoy it more with the break, even if you've missed one of the rides. So we always go in, and when we have conversations, I say, like, give me your top 5 things that you need to do, and I'll help you manage that time. That's just my like little way of kind of helping if people feel the need to like get everything done. And some people are just not receptive to it, and that's okay too, right? Sometimes you just do want to go. I am a person that I don't practice what I preach. But I've also been I go to Disney at least once a year, right? So it's different.
Yeah.
It's different than if this is like a like one the first time that you're going, or you haven't been in 10 years, you haven't been in 5 years, right? It's different dependent on expectation and experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer, and anyone who's ever gone to Disney with me, I've probably said this at least once for my past like 5 trips that I've gone to, is standing in line for a ride is not a waste of time.
No.
Standing in the middle of a pathway deciding what to do next, that can be a waste of time. And now if maybe you're like, you know what, I'm done with rides for a little bit. I need a break. I just want to enjoy the theming of the lands. I want to enjoy the beautiful gardens that don't get talked about enough,
Oh,
especially at the Magic Kingdom. Uh,
yes.
I want to just enjoy a show, right? There's so much to see and to do, right? And I think that as long as you go into your park day, regardless of what park you're at, and you have okay, you know what? When we need a break at Magic Kingdom, and it's time for like lunch or something, I want to go to the Columbia Harbor House because I like sitting in that upstairs, nice air conditioned room up there. That's a good place to beat the heat.
Yeah.
And you kind of like have kind of those side plans of like, okay, like we could plan that out. Or maybe if you're in Adventureland, I know there are some parents that I see them with their kids. They spend so much time just dodging water from the spitting camel, right? Like
It's just so fun.
it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. And
That is fun.
so I think that's one of the things I love about, high quality theme parks like Disney is that even when you're not in line for a ride, there's so much to do that you enjoy, right? Like the atmosphere, the music, it gets you that, the feels, right? The feels.
Well, making me excited,
I
Zach.
know I'm good for you. You're going real soon, and we'll talk about that a bit.
So soon.
I say all this to bring it back to budgeting your time. There really is so much to navigate in these parks that I think going into it with the mindset of, okay, we're going to do as much as we can in the allotted amount of time we can. And if setting your family up and your party up for success is sleeping in and maybe going to the parks a little bit later,
Yeah.
there's a plan for that. If your family is, just you're full of excitement, you're like, we gotta get there an hour before
Early.
rope drop. There's
Yeah.
there's a plan and there's an excitement for that as well, right? And I think just having like a malleable plan, right, of navigating lines, navigating nap times, bathroom breaks, lunchtime, dinner. If you have reservations at certain restaurants, maybe it's a restaurant inside of the park or outside of the park, right?
Yeah.
Having to navigate that, the more that you kind of have that plan ahead of time, the better you're setting yourself up for success in the parks, right? And as the word malleable, I will always throw that out there, just because there are so many variables that can happen in any vacation, let alone a theme park.
And I think this is what people forget is that you are on vacation,
Yeah,
right? You know, we don't this is why I'm always like I'm always trying to like manage expectations,
yeah,
right? At the end of the day, you're probably not going to get everything on your list checked off. So you want to make sure that whatever you are getting checked off that you're enjoying
yeah,
and you're really just being in that moment of like, this is cool.
yeah,
I'm here. I'm in this place that feels great. And we do get bogged down in the like semantics of it all, right? And so I always say to my clients, like, just make sure you really enjoy it and know that, like, I'm here for conversation if you need it.
Mhm.
If something, really crazy happens that you need some support on, I'm always available for like, a call, something happens, but also there's cast members that will help you
Yeah.
in the parks if something is to go
Great
wrong
resource.
or to not, but you do have to be malleable because, halfway through the day, especially if you've got kids, "Mommy, I'm tired." Right? Okay, so what is our plan if this happens? And so I like to have that conversation with my clients so that they have a plan B.
Yeah.
Also, you're right. Like, there are people that will not get up, or there's people that their kids are up at 5 a.m. every day anyway.
Yeah.
So let's utilize that energy while we have it
Yeah.
and take a midday break, right? So it's just, yeah, you're right. Managing time, managing expectations, managing what you want out of your vacation. And those are conversations we can always have,
Yeah.
right?
I
Yeah.
I went to Disneyland once with someone who really wasn't into fireworks,
Mhm.
just for kind of some sensory stuff, things like that. And so she actually said, she's like, "Could we just plan to do a bunch of rides while the fireworks are going on?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay, sure." I was surprised at the amount of rides you can do, and it's pretty much like walk on, right? Like,
Yeah. Especially the rides that aren't like your top popular ones
yeah,
during that.
yeah,
You're right. So, yeah, and these are tips and tricks that sometimes, you know, if you ask that conversation, we can give you an answer of, like, what best practice is to get the most time managing strategies in your trip.
yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think once again, there's not necessarily a wrong way to approach a Disney park, but there's a lot of different right ways to do it.
There's a lot yeah, there's a lot of little ways that can just make things a lot smoother,
Yeah,
and that's what we're here that's what Zach and I are here for, right? We are here, so if you have questions, put them in the comments,
yeah,
like, we can try to answer them, give you some feedback, or, send us an email, go onto our website, and you can, like, request a quote. We're here.
yeah,
We're here to answer the questions, to go through it. It's no obligation, free quote. If you go to canadianmousetrips.ca, um, and then there's a place to go ahead and submit a request for a quote. So go ahead and do that. And then you can speak to one of the agents and ask the questions and, but also if you're planning on going, utilize the service because you're paying for it if you do it yourself anyway,
yeah, yeah.
right?
Um,
So
Carm, that was a lot of fun talking about time management and different things. I know we kind of went on a couple of rabbit trails there, but that's okay because that's just what we do on this podcast, apparently.
yeah.
Before we close out though, Carm, I just want to say I get excited when any of my friends or family are going to Disney. I
Me too.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled. I have one friend there now, and she's posting pictures at Animal Kingdom today. I just saw, and I'm like, I'm so happy for you and to get to experience that. But you're going on a trip. How many days do you have left?
I, a week and a half.
You have a week and a
My
half.
app
Okay,
why don't we do this? Why don't I take a look at my Disney World app and, take a look at my countdown? Because in the Disney app, you can actually see your countdown if you go to your reservation.
that's so fun.
So fun. Another tip and trick.
Yep.
I have 11 days
Let's
before I check in.
go. Oh, almost into single digits. That's
Almost
awesome.
in the single digits,
So,
yeah.
Carm, tell us about this trip. Who are you going with? What resort are you staying at? And what's your strategy for this trip specifically?
So, this is a yearly thing that we do,
Yep, you said.
and it is for the Disney Princess Half Marathon Weekend, so any runners out there, if you love going on doing a 5K, a 10K, a half marathon, hit me up. I got the deets. And let me tell you, Disney does running different. They do it the best.
Yeah.
As somebody that has done multiple half marathons, Disney does it best. You get to run through the parks,
Mm,
all that fun stuff. So the 5K is a trip around Epcot. You literally run through Epcot, through the parking lot, and that's your 5K. Did you know almost through Epcot is 5K? It's crazy.
I did not know that. That is cool. Huh.
You go through like if you just go into the, Google, there's the maps are up there. You guys can see the routes. Um, there's a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon this weekend that we're there. It is usually the end of February. The second last weekend in February is usually when it happens. And so we go down, we usually go from like the Wednesday. There's an expo, there's merchandise to be purchased. It's just like a really good time.
Hmm.
And this year I'm doing the 5K and the 10. Most of us are doing the 5K. Last year there was 18 of us, and 13 of us did the 5K and crossed the finish line, which is really cool. This year's is a little bit less of us just because Disney can be expensive and not everybody can do it all the time. So there's 8 of us going this year. 2 newbies, which I'm really excited about bringing with us and giving them that experience. But from my little neck of the woods, there's 4 of us. 2 are driving and 2 are flying, which different forms of transportation. When you live in the Toronto area, you can do both.
Yeah.
Both work. And so we are leaving and we're flying out the Wednesday before the run. We are staying at Disney's Coronado Springs, which is it's a gorgeous resort. It really is a calming feel. Last year we stayed at Pop Century because there was so many of us and it was the most affordable option. But this year, with all of the discounts, Coronado Springs was cheaper than Pop Century.
Okay.
So we decided we were going to upgrade. Coronado Springs also has a hot tub. This year we were like, we need a hot tub. Because when you run a 5K and then go into the parks, and then you got to get up the next day and run a 10K and go into the parks, your feet need a hot tub.
Yep.
So that was a mistake that we made last year, because Pop Century unfortunately does not have a hot tub because it is a value resort. But Coronado Springs has a hot tub. And so that is the key for us. Not everybody cares about a hot tub, but this year we decided that that was the plan. And so that's where we're staying. All 8 of us are staying at Coronado Springs. The beauty of staying on Disney property during a Run Disney event is that they have shuttle buses that go to the runs, because you have to get to the run for, like, the run starts at 5 a.m. And so you need to be on the bus for 3 a.m. And so therefore you're up at 2 a.m.
Wow.
So if you have to get there yourself, then you're having to drive yourself at that crack of dawn. You're, having to do all of the extra work and effort. Whereas when you stay on Disney property, I get out of my bed, get myself changed, have my coffee. I walk to the bus and they take me to the start line.
There you go.
That easy. Pretty straightforward. So we're staying at Disney's Coronado Springs. We all have 4 days of park tickets with hoppers. We are all adults. There is no children coming. And we've all been to Disney before.
Okay.
Multiple times.
Nice.
So all of us, so that's the strategy for us.
Yeah.
We do park hoppers because we all know there's only certain things we want to do. Sometimes we want to jump around.
Right.
If, say, Magic Kingdom is closing at 11 p.m., we'll start somewhere and then we'll end in Magic, right? Because you can utilize the time wisely. But again, those are our strategies. There's also 8 of us, and not everybody is going to make it through every day.
Right.
But we know that about each other. And I know, and so when you go in larger groups, you have to be okay with splitting. Not everybody is going to want to do everything at all times, right? When you're a family of 4, it's a little bit different because it's mom, dad, mom, like all of the people, or grandma, or whoever the case is, right? And it's just a smaller, it's easier to manage 4 people than it is to manage 8. And so those are conversations, if you're going with a big group of people, those are conversations that we have. So it's just really about, there's 8 of us, and I know that, like, my mom's already told me I'm gonna do Magic Kingdom and Epcot. Those are the only 2 parks I care about.
Yeah.
So she's gonna go and do those 2. And there may be moments where she's wandering around the world at Epcot and I'm like, Ma, I'm going on Soarin', bye. Right? Because we know, and then this is the thing, when you go with groups of people that have been and go often, you can kind of do your own thing. Last year there was so many of us, it was really hard to even get people for one photo. There was 18 of us, and I don't have a photo of all 18 of us together. Right? And so I guess, again, it's just about managing expectation, managing time. And this year we're actually not purchasing the multi-pass lightning lanes.
Oh.
We're just sticking to the single passes, so at least we get 1 ride a day, 1 ride per park. We go on the most popular ones, that's the strategy,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna take it and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because last year, we went and we hit every ride, we went on some rides multiple times. This year, our goal is to just enjoy it,
Yeah.
right? And so I'm just very excited. We're obviously hitting all of the parks.
Yeah.
I'm really lucky. I also had an annual pass that is ending on the Thursday of our trip. So I have that plus my 4-day pass. I get to go to the parks every day, and I'm very excited about spending a Saturday alone by myself
Cool.
in Magic Kingdom. So that's kind of my goal. But yeah, just like so much happening. And it's such a good time. The runs are exhausting because you're up at the crack of dawn. But let me tell you, last year we did not last year, sorry, the year before I did a half marathon on the Sunday and then I closed Magic Kingdom. So like as an adult, it's kind of, it's kind of easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was a great time. But let me tell you, I was very tired afterwards and I managed that. I knew what I was getting into.
What about
And so,
I'm sorry to interrupt you just before.
no,
First off, this trip sounds amazing. I think you're gonna have a great time. I'm looking forward to seeing pictures on your socials. Um,
yeah.
what about dining? Are you guys doing any dining or anything like that?
Yes. So again, because we go often, the last time we went, we did try a bunch of different options, but this year we are doing one dining option, and we're going to Topolino's,
Ooh.
which is my absolute favorite character dining. 100% could not recommend it enough. The food is the food I think for my own standards is delicious. The character experience is incredible.
Yeah.
And the vibe just in general at the Riviera Resort is wonderful.
Yeah.
They have the grounds are beautiful. The dining is on their top level, and so you overlook, the parks, which is really cool. And they have, like, a little spot that you can go sit outside after you're done your meal and finish your coffee, things like that. So it's just a really great vibe, and so, all 8 of us I did get a reservation for all 8 of us, at Topolino's on one of our days, and I'm very excited about it because Mickey, Minnie, Daisy, and Donald are just such a blast. Such
Yes.
in their Riviera in their, like, French, Italian Riviera era.
Okay. Oh, well,
Yeah,
this trip sounds amazing. I think you're gonna have such a fun time. You're 11 days away. Oh man,
so close,
so close.
so close.
Well,
Yeah.
Carm, that's going to do it for this episode of the Canadian Mouse Trips podcast. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in. Feel free to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know when is your next trip coming up. We would love to chat with you in the comment section. And yeah, Carm, thank you so much again. Have a great trip, and we will see you in the next
Welcome back. Yes.
one.
Have a great day, everybody.